All right, everyone, it's time for a natural follow-up to my video yesterday, and also talking with Ramsey Paul and Happy Homelands. Half of the conversation was about Ginsburg dying, which, we're scheduled for Saturdays, and then that happens, and it sort of throws things for a loop because there would have been, obviously, other things to talk about. I don't think we even talked about the riots, except in passing. You get people dying, you've got fires and rock throwers and looting and crazy shit going on, and it takes a total backseat because one person keels over because of the fact that the election is going on. But my recommendation is this: to the Republicans, grow a spine, do what you are usually not inclined to do, because the only people in the Republican Party right now that tend to have a spine, that have backbone, you've got Trump, who is a 90s Democrat, essentially. He's an old wave, pre-Clinton era almost Democrat. He's not from the school of the conservative. I know he started going to CPAC years ago. I think that he did that because he realized, hey, there are more heavy-hitting potential names in the Dem party, because you had Hillary Clinton and some of these others. They had more of a chance to shut him out, I think. And so he preferred the Republicans because a lot of times you don't have necessarily the star power sort of thing behind their candidates. There's a lot of like lawyers and businessmen and stuff. Trump realized, I think, he'd be at an advantage and could run rings around his enemy. So he starts going to CPAC back in the 2000s or late 90s. I don't think that he's not a conservative. He might have some beliefs that are now considered conservative by liberal standards, but they've gone so far left that that's almost a non-issue. You've got McConnell, who, as a procedural Republican, as the head of the Senate, he's very, very good. I like it when they make memes about Mitch McConnell. They're like, oh, well, Cocaine Mitch, because, his ship there, apparently his private yacht, someone was using it to smuggle millions in coke. I wonder who it could have been, by the way. Stop. You're almost making me think that the dude is cool. I don't support the drug war, so goodness, I don't really care. Just let him snort his coke. If he's on coke, no wonder he's so efficient, gets so much work done. And then like Rand Paul. Rand Paul, I would say, has a spine, but he's not in lockstep, certainly with like the McConnellites or something. So you have Ted Cruz as the missing link. I'd say he'd be number 4. It's funny because there are people who want him to be the SCOTUS replacement for Ginsburg. That would be crazy. You would energize the liberals on a level that you don't want to energize them on. The best thing you can do is go with that, what's her name, Amy Conner Barrett, I believe it is. Have a female justice. It's okay if they lean to the right, and definitely I would be very upset if Trump puts someone on there that doesn't have a spotless record of being pro-gun. This is a golden opportunity to purge the Supreme Court of its anti-gun sentiment, probably for the next 10 to 20 years, get a bunch of federal decisions to SCOTUS, have them canvass the whole country. You can eliminate duty to retreat. You can have nationwide stand your ground, nationwide castle doctrine, no magazine restrictions, no ammo restrictions, no import bans. You can get rid of all of it. Oh, how wonderful it would be if people could effectively defend themselves. So many societal issues, from gang violence and petty crime through rioting and every other problem attendant. All of those issues become much, much less if people are properly armed and trained and they form a well-regulated, aka well-supplied, well-able to operate militia. That's what we need in this country. Let's return to the pre-NFA definition of what it means to keep and bear arms. Minus Cruikshank, of course, which has been overruled by McDonald versus Chicago. That's what we need. The Republicans in the Senate must fast-track whoever Trump puts forward. And of course, he's cognizant of political strategy. There are people who want Ginsburg to be replaced by the next Antonin Scalia. That's probably not going to happen unless Trump thinks he's going to lose and just doesn't give a fuck anymore and just says, to hell with it, I'm going to stack the court because they'll make life a living hell for the next administration, which will be basically Kamala Harris. If he thinks he's going to lose, like if his bravado on the outside isn't reflected by his own interior feelings, you can expect him to put a hard right-winger on the court. I think he's in it to win it. I think he realizes that the mainline polling is wrong. Things are moving in his direction. He's expecting to win 3 debates in a row against Biden. I don't think he's worried. You can expect someone who's more of a centrist, tempered on various issues, but hopefully someone who's not anti-gun, and the Republicans need to fast-track them instantly. You have just been given, potentially, an extreme gift to rally the Republican base, number one, which is salivating right now because Ginsburg croaked, although, again, the GOP is not known for taking risks. You give them a yard, they take an inch. That's a problem perennially for them and has been for half a century. You have the opportunity to outflank the Democrats, take this issue off the table, because what you have is a majority in the Senate large enough to pass through anyone who happens to come by expediting the process. Mitch McConnell heads the Senate, and he has that capability. The Republicans run it. Now, Murkowski doesn't want to vote. There's one less Republican that would vote for them. You cannot count on Mitt Romney. Chances are he would vote against. That means that you have 51 to 49 in that sense. And of course, Romney, because he's a cuck, he'd probably just abstain, so technically versus 48. The Democrats need 2 more people to flip in order to stop the nomination process, because in a tie, Pence comes in. And Pence isn't going to obstruct his own fucking president. He'd be crazy to do that. My feeling is they can do it. And it wouldn't even necessarily be that hard. They can certainly fast-track it starting tomorrow, starting on Monday, get it through before Election Day. I wouldn't even wait till the election. What appears to be the case is that Mitch McConnell is going to start the process, and then regardless of what happens with the election, as long as he's still heading the Senate, once the election results have come in, he thinks that he can get it through before inauguration, regardless of whether Trump is reelected or not. Trump may get a Supreme Court nomination through without even being the acting president. So essentially 1/3 of all the people on the court will be Trump appointees. This is a generational win for people who certainly support gun rights. Certainly for people who don't want the court to completely cuck to social Marxism. I think, though, it would be a mistake to wait that long. I think that as long as it remains an issue, what will happen is that you will cause the Democrats, hear me out in the strategic sense. Let's say that Mitch McConnell brings forth the nominee, they begin the debating process, they begin the process of vetting, they vet the person, they're ready to have a vote, but Mitch says, okay, but out of respect for decorum, we're going to wait on the vote until after the actual election. My worry is that you may get Republicans that got knocked off voting against because they feel backstabbed and fall short of the majority that you need to actually get them through. In which case, the process is stymied and Ginsburg will be replaced by Joe Biden. Technically, in that sense, Kamala Harris, who will use that as an opportunity probably to get someone who's even further left than Ginsburg onto the court. Ginsburg, as a relic of the 1960s and 70s sort of era, trust me, is nowhere near as far left as some of the people that she could find. You could find a Michelle Obama SCOTUS pick. You could find that Kamala Harris decides Ilhan Omar is a great idea. I'm not joking about this. This is another reason why it is now imperative. At this particular moment, this ups the ante by an order of magnitude because of the importance of this particular SCOTUS seat and which way it goes. It's imperative at this time that those that support Trump or generally anti-left causes do several things. Register to vote if you're not registered. Fucking vote. Don't just plan on it. Actually show up, vote in person, and get at least one other person to do so. Rabble-rouse to no end. Contact your senators and demand a fair vote before the election is held. You need to do all of these things. Put pressure on people. You know, politicians do respond. If all of a sudden they get 1,000 letters in their office from people demanding that they do something, it definitely sways their opinion sometimes. It's not a surefire thing because backroom deals are made. You remember with the last nomination process when they were trying to get, the Democrats were taking Murkowski and some of these other people into the back room to talk to them, and they were all drunk and sweaty, of course, and I think, was it McConnell or someone at the time was remarking on this. With the budget shutdown, they were doing the same thing. They go into the back room away from the cameras and they make deals. Oh, if you just vote in favor of this, look, I know you want this infrastructure project. It's really expensive, but I'll vote for it. I'll try to get my colleagues to vote for it. Just do me a solid. And it doesn't matter, by the way, which party these people are part of. Trump has a spine. He needs to force the Senate Republicans to act. Convince them to stop acting like Republicans, in other words. I know some of these people, they are perennially scared, and any vulnerable Senate Republican right now is feeling enormous pressure. You can potentially get lots of kickbacks, though. Side with the GOP. Declare to the Dems, oh, don't worry. Yeah, I'll vote against bringing the nominee forth, but we got to let the vote go forward. And don't worry, I'll help you stop it. And then stab them in the back. Stab your Democratic colleagues in the back for once and grow a fucking pair of balls. Grow a spine and don't let the American people down. This is a treasured moment in order for you to be able to knock out a far-left justice who, again, on some issues, I absolutely agreed with Ginsburg. I don't celebrate her death, and I don't have a problem with her as a person, unlike 90% of conservative individuals, because, of course, I'm not a Republican. That being said, on guns, she has been a continuous thorn in the side of the Second Amendment now for decades and decades. That age can pass by, and for at least the next 10 to 15, maybe 20 years, you are free. You have carte blanche to bring forth from lower courts, federal courts, anti-gun cases and shoot them down. You have like multiple federal courts have upheld bans on certain kinds of ammo, certain magazine sizes, NFA-related restrictions on certain peripheral items related to firearms. Those have been upheld at the federal level. The only reason why SCOTUS hasn't weighed in is the conservatives keep torpedoing the idea of weighing in at all, so long as the court is for liberals and John Roberts, because they don't trust him. If you replace Ginsburg with a principled pro-gun conservative who understands the initial text and meaning of the Second Amendment, you've got 5 justices that'll vote in favor of gun rights without Roberts even joining you. Just fucking do it. That's about all. Peace out.